Hey there, let's talk autistic history and the Autism Wars. This is part 4 of a series. So we're going back to the 60s and 70s where the autism community was born in the era where parent advocates rised up with Bernard Rimland and Lovaas to fight the horrible refrigerator mother's theory that Bruno Bettelheim had promoted so much and made really popular, as well as his idea that these autistic kids would benefit from a parentectomy, which means removal from their homes and placed in institutions. So you can see the power of these advocates helping to reshape and change the way everyone else thought about autism, and it was very needed. So this was a myth that absolutely needed to be broke. Now, to clarify, the autism community is a separate community than the autistic community, and we will be talking about the autistic community in future episodes or future videos. But right now, this is Parents with Bernard Rimland and Ivar Lovaas with Autism Society of America. So there's a ton of history here that I am quickly going over. You can delve into far more details by looking up Wikipedia and going from jump points there, or going over to the Autism History Project that's on, I believe, on uoregon.edu. And I'm going to share with you what they say in this one part on Bruno Bettelheim on their site. It says, throughout most of his career, Bettelheim's views attracted great interest and respect in spite of his deliberate provocations and sometimes belligerent demeanor. His admirers point to his tireless work with severely disabled children as proof of his empathy and courage. Critics argued that Bettelheim's insistence on an 85% cure rate was unrealistic, if not impossible. So during the 60s, as we know, he lost ground to the advocates of biogenesis, including Bernard Rimland, and angry parents. They all pointed a finger at Bettelheim and others who had blamed the parents for their children being autistic. So Bettelheim dies in 1990 by not natural means. He unalived himself. I would say the other word, but I don't think it's allowed here. I'm not sure of all the community rules yet of the TikTok. So after his death in 1990, charges of physical abuse at the orthogenic school, which is where he was working, surfaced, and uncomfortable questions about Bettelheim's professional credentials emerged. Remember when I talked about all these guys are shady? They're shady, right? Okay, so Bettelheim, the truth about Bettelheim comes out after he dies, and it permanently tarnished his reputation. So Bruno Bettelheim was well known for his brutal tactics to the children in his care. So much so was he known for this that his colleagues in the area, professional colleagues, nicknamed him Bruno Brutalheim. So his nickname was Brutalheim. That's how well known these abuses were, but no one took a step up for these kids back then. They just spoke about it after. So at this point, we've heard from autism researchers who are also advocates against researchers that they don't agree with in terms of the cause and treatment for autism. We've heard from a parent who wrote a review or a response to reviews of Bettelheim's memoirs being written post after his death in 1990. And we've know the opinion of professionals around Bettelheim in that era, but who we haven't heard from yet is a self-advocate who was a patient of Bettelheim's, and I'm going to share with you that an advocate's voice is possible to share because they wrote a letter to the editor of Chicago Reader, and it was published. And then the first time they wrote this letter, it was anonymous, I believe. The second letter that they wrote, they shared with their name, plus with history of their experiences, their lived experiences under the care of Bettelheim. So I'm going to end part 4 here, and we're going to pick up in part 5, Autistic History, the Autism Wars in the 60s and 70s, with the letter to the editor that was published April 4th, 1991 in the Chicago Reader, titled The Monster of the Midway. And this is the lived experience of the person who's writing in. And it's going to be a very difficult one to read and to hear, so know that. All right, see you in part 5.